food we eat today is not the food we used to eat in my childhood. And getting back to eating proper food and getting nutrients, it has taken a long journey because I was not conscious of all the tricks that's been played on people when, as far as food is concerned, because I suppose you could say that the human race has been studied the same like as they would study an animal in the laboratory. We have been studied within an inch of our lives. And when they study us, they can then dictate our behaviour, control our behaviour. So we are living in probably the most exciting time in human history because we are beginning to wake up and we're going from being unconscious of what's going on to being more conscious. And that relates very much to our food, the food we eat, because the food we eat is the one thing that gives us life: the sun, the water, the air, the soil. And if the soil is not right, the food is not right. And food today has become highly addictive. But that is the food that has been processed, and it has been done deliberately to make people addicted to the additives that are put into the food, because food in itself is not addictive. We only think of food when we get hungry. But when there's additives in the food stuff that people are buying, people become addicted. And the way that was proven was done by a scientist who studied the behaviour of a dog. He was studying the saliva of a dog. As in all animals, they're all studied. And when this scientist gave food to the dog, the first thing he would do is he would ring a bell, and then he would put the food out and the dog would eat. And then he would do that again, and he would do it again. So he did it repetitively over a long period of time. And then what he did was he took away the food, and he watched the dog, and he rang the bell, and the dog the gastric juices began to flow in the dog. So his saliva began to anticipate the arrival of food, but the food didn't come. And what he proved over a period of time was that people can be programmed to desire the food that's being presented to them, not because they're hungry, but because they're programmed. And the way we've been programmed is television. People don't realize that the television was designed as an advertisement. It was an extension of paper advertising in the papers. And the television, that's what it is. So you take away the ads from the television, there will be no television. And the most amazing thing is that when we are listening to a program on the television, can be usually they're all very entertaining, and that relaxes the brain. And when the brain is relaxed and then the ads come on at intervals, because the brain is relaxed, there is no filtration to decide whether that information that's going in is true or false. It just goes in automatically, and it usually goes in with a jingle. So when people go to shop in the supermarkets and they see the food in the supermarkets, they are choosing the food from a mental condition in anticipation of the food that they've seen on the television. So they buy the food, and the food has been highly processed. That's the thing is, the food that's on the marketplace today is highly addictive. So when people go to the shops and they actually see the food, they begin to sell the saliva in their mouth, and the gastric juices begin begins to work, and therefore the addiction is there unconsciously, and the person reaches for that food and that addictive process. And a lot of the food that's been sold through the supermarkets and through these companies are not only highly addictive, but they're also highly inflammatory and disease forming. So for us to get away from the addiction in the supermarkets, like me, it took me a long time. There are a lot of addictions that I had to get away from. I had to get away from cigarettes. I was addicted to cigarettes. The way I got rid of my addiction was I was doing holistic healing at the time, so I had a bit of knowledge as to how the mind works. And I realized that if I needed the cigarette, it wasn't the cigarette I was looking for. It was the addiction, and the addiction came through the taste buds in my mouth. And those taste buds had to be cleaned away. That addiction had to be washed away. And if I hadn't, what I did was I drank a glass of water. And if the taste was still there for another cigarette, I drank another glass of water. And I realized I didn't need the cigarette. And I kept doing that. The same as I had created the habit to smoke, I created the habit of drinking the water so that I wouldn't smoke. And it worked. And the same thing happened many years later when I began to realize that the food that I was eating and buying myself unconsciously was addictive because of the sugar and the salt and the flavourings that were in the food. So I wasn't buying from a need to eat food because I possibly wasn't even hungry, because I had gone out to do the shopping and the dinner was probably going to be a few hours later. But I was buying the food because of the addictive flavourings that I was experiencing as I shopped. It did take time for me to get away from sugar and salt and all those flavourings. And I did it the same way as I eliminated the cigarettes. I drank more water. I bought more unprocessed foods. And over time, bit by bit, my taste buds changed, my habits changed, and my health changed. And it all came from acquiring the knowledge. Because without the knowledge, my body would control my mind. So I realized that my mind had to control my body. And if your body is addicted to something, your body will win if your mind doesn't take control. So for us to get healthy, it's important. It's not, we have to buy a lot less food, because when people are addicted to a particular food or foods, they eat the food, they get more addicted. They eat more of that, they get more addictive, more addictive, more addictive, and it just goes on and just gets bigger and bigger. And the more and more food that's eaten, the body becomes more inflamed. The body is not healing, it's becoming inflamed, so it's becoming more and more ill. And therefore the problem can never be solved without coming to the awareness of, I have to take control of my health. I have to take control of what food I put into my mouth, what I buy. Because if I want to be healthy, I need to put in what the body requires. The same as having a car. When you drive your car, you don't go out, decide that you're going to drive the car and the petrol or diesel gauge is low, and say, oh, I'll put in some vegetable oil, and that'll do, it's oil. It's not oil, because your car will break down if you put something in that's not supposed to go in. But because we can't see or feel what goes on inside in our body until it becomes a crisis, we don't think about it. We just enjoy the taste of the food, the smell of the food, the enjoyment of the food, rather than realizing down the road this is going to have either a good effect or a bad effect on my health. So I hope you become more aware and control, have mind over matter, just realize, become educated as to what's in the food. And these companies that are in selling food in shops and supermarkets, the only consideration they have is the bottom line, which is the profit they make. And the more addictive people start early, children start at a very young age with sugars, a lot of sugars given to children. And children are nearly addicted before they're able to go to school. Because when I was growing up, I remember my parents, we had a shop, we had a pub, a public house and a shop, and we did sell chocolate in the shop. But the one thing that we were never encouraged, I suppose it wasn't even a spoken word, that was our business. So we didn't go into the shop, as we called it, and take a bar of chocolate. We never did that. It would be unheard of. And if we went to town, we could go to town with our parents, but we'd never ask for sweets. If we got an ice cream, that was great. That was the bonus of going to town. But if we didn't, we'd come home, we'd sit in the car and we'd think, oh, I'm going home and I got no chocolate. But we never complained. But I suppose that's the great thing. It wasn't something that was, and we always had our own vegetables. So we never had to go to the supermarket and buy vegetables. Again, it was unheard of. So our taste buds and our programming was completely different. And now when we come to so-called stage in life where I look at people and I listen to people and I might listen to that news and hear the overcrowding in hospitals, and I just think to myself, woe be with the time that I was growing up. And it's great to be able to fall back on the old reliable and the common sense. So our food, as Louis Pasteur said, let food be your medicine and medicine your food. You will not spend your money, you will invest your money. You'll have a lot less. And I went from having a trolley going to the shops to having a basket. And I went from going all around the shop and the supermarket to just going around the edge of the supermarket. I used to buy bread, and I bought my milk and my butter. I never bought any oils. I always bought animal fat, was the only thing I've ever used. Butter I've always used. So all the bare essentials are on the edge of the supermarket. Don't go down the aisle where the tins are and the biscuits are and the breakfast bar and cereals are. Stay away from them. They're highly addictive and they are highly toxic. Get them out of your basket. I remember one lady I was trying to advise, when I think of it, I was trying to advise her on food. She wanted to lose some weight, and she had a lot of lymphatics, very, very bad lymphatic drainage. And I thought if I could just get her to drink the water and just eat healthy food, all of that would fall away automatically without ever doing anything. That's it. The body will look after itself. It's a highly intelligent cells in the body. Just give it what it needs. But anyway, at this stage, I saw her in the supermarket shopping and she was going down the wrong aisle. And I ran up to her thinking that I could help her. These are not right. But anyway, she did. She bought them and that was it. But she didn't lose the weight. The lymphatics didn't go down. But we can't save people. We can only educate people. And the only thing we can do is educate ourselves and do it for ourselves if they want to do it. So education, clean food, healthy food, plenty of water, a bit of exercise, and mind over matter. Otherwise, the body will control the mind. You don't want that because that's where chaos comes in. We want to be calm, happy, prosperous, healthy. And it's a great time to be alive because all of that is coming in now. And you can go to what they give out about in artificial intelligence. You can go online and you can find out all the right way to do things. It's all there. You just need to know where is that knowledge coming from? Because, when the right thing is out there on AI, the wool can be pulled over our eyes as well. So it's important that we source our knowledge through somebody who already knows the truth.